Oh.
Oh, the police!
Oh my god! God, what the? Oh my god, look at him!
And as you saw in the beginning of the video, ladies and gentlemen, the police officers were able to tackle down the killer clowns. And we understand the killer clowns and humans and police officers and so on and so forth have embroiled in a bitter rivalry. In fact, it's now brewing into a war expected to happen this coming Sunday on October 31st of 2021, Halloween night, or now known as Killer Clown Purge Night, in which everyone is calling it now. Ladies and gentlemen, this entire situation is turning more hostile, much more dangerous, a lot more creepy as well. And we understand to talk more about this, what has been happening as of late. It is none other than the leader of the Purge movement. Please welcome BooBoo the Clown in this interview that we spoke to. And well, he actually talked exactly what's going to happen on the 31st, what he believes is going to happen in the future, and what he has been thinking about over the past couple of weeks. BooBoo the Clown, thanks for joining us here today again. There's plenty to talk about. In fact, what we're going to be talking about today is so many different...
I heard exactly what you said about us. Calling us failures. Making us look dumb all over the world. Do you really want to get abducted next? Do you want to be thrown in the pits of hell?
Oh, I apologize if I struck a nerve, so to speak. There's a lot to talk about.
What you say?
Well, Mr. BooBoo the Clown, there's a lot to talk about, though, because we saw it in the beginning of the video. The police officers are actually doing everything they can to try to tackle you guys down, and that's exactly what we saw. A killer clown wandering in the streets trying to take over, and what happened? The police came out of their cars, and they took this man down. What's your message? What's your response to these police officers?
They can feel free to do what they want, but at the end, I will kill every single cop standing on this earth right now. I don't give a shit about any of them.
Now, when it comes to the police officers in general, these officers are now taking upon themselves to really be going out in the streets at night and actually, taking a stand. What they're doing is they're riding around in the streets and they're checking every single corner for any killer clowns. And if they see killer clowns out there, they will indeed take action. This is much different than what we heard of a couple of weeks back. In fact, the police officers were not taking this seriously until now. What's your response over the fact that the police officers are actually getting stronger by the minute?
That doesn't mean nothing to me. Them getting stronger. Are you kidding me? I don't care how strong they become, but I will get my revenge on this earth and everyone in it.
Okay, switching gears. There's a lot to talk about in this subject as well. We're going to go ahead and break things down. Over the past couple of days, I got a chance to talk to Timothy, as you know, but I also got a chance to talk to an anonymous source, and I would like to get your take on this because I have yet to hear from you. The anonymous source told me via DMs that him and his friends were able to abduct a killer clown. And this killer clown...
Yeah, I saw everything. I saw everything he said.
What's your response?
And my response to that is... which clown did he abduct? I want to see proof that he abducted one of my clowns.
Well, I highly doubt that he would be making up this entire story. I'm pretty sure what he did was probably true. Although, assuming it is true, aren't you a bit worried that people are taking a stand as well? It's not just police officers, but we're not talking about everyday civilians living their normal lives now at nighttime, picking up clowns and avoiding them to scare other people. Aren't you afraid that your plans are now being floored because of people taking action?
Are you really asking me if I'm afraid? Do I look afraid to you?
Well, not really, but perhaps maybe perplexed. Let me ask you this question then. What would you do if another killer clown gets abducted, and another one, and another one? Does that slow things down at all?
I'd like to see this happen in person for me to believe it. I'm I'm not gonna believe a bunch of dumb kids on social media saying they abducted my clowns. What kind of bullshit is that?
Well, the same could be said with your guys' killer clowns. What I mean by that is, when the killer clowns are using social media as a way to get their message across, perhaps maybe the people reading those messages on social media may look at that and say, I'm not going to believe this. So it goes two ways, sir.
Right. And Timothy and that other anonymous kid, they're nowhere to be found. What in the hell are they talking about abducting us, when yet they're nowhere to be found by me?
Well, maybe they're doing a pretty good job eluding from you guys. Maybe they're doing a pretty good job avoiding contact from any killer clowns, and then when they least expect it, boom, they get you.
That is the most retarded thing I've ever heard. The reason why they're nowhere to be found is because they are scared. They don't want to admit that all over YouTube. But I know deep down, they're scared. And you know that for a fact, deep down.
Let's talk about Jingles the Clown for a second. I got a chance to talk to another killer clown as well. Jingles the Clown said that he has a new plan. He said that he is going to, on the 31st, he's going to pick up people, and he's actually going to bury them alive. Don't you find that a bit fierce? Don't you find that a bit too far? I mean, he's going to try to bury people alive. If this is what you want?
I'll do worse than bury people. I'll burn them in ashes. Hell, I'll even eat their guts raw. I'll feast on their flesh raw.
And you're planning on doing this on the 31st?
Yes, how do you think I get my food? How do you think I eat?
Well, let's talk about October 31st. What would you do? Because we're just about a week away. October 31st is this coming Sunday. What would you do if all the killer clowns decide to sit back down? If all the killer clowns decide to cancel the plan itself, what would you personally do? Because it looks like these killer clowns are getting weaker and weaker. With all due respect, it looks like the killer clowns are now getting a bit lost on how to handle this. I mean, really in the past week, we saw a killer clown get abducted. We saw people go after them, and we saw police officers tackle them down. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in a week, but again, it looks like the killer clowns are now being defeated right before even the day has come. So what would you do if all the killer clowns on the 31st say, we're not going to do this anymore? What would you do?
I am the leader. I make the final decisions. And I'm not dropping anything down. I'm gonna bring this purge on Halloween. And I'm gonna bring it out hard. If you thought 2016 was bad, 2021 is getting even worse. And you think cops are tackling down clowns makes them strong? Come on now. You think Timothy and his fat little other friend abducted a clown? Do you really believe that bullshit that they're telling you? I certainly don't.
Do you consider yourself a good leader, a charismatic leader, or do you consider yourself more of a crazed prophet that believes in a prophecy that killer clowns are going to be taking over the world? I'm pretty sure some killer clowns out there are also believing in the fact that you're going a bit too far. What do you see yourself as a leader? Do you see yourself as a leader that can indeed lead this purge group?
I've been leading it since 2016. Why can I not lead 2021 for? What's so hard about it?
Well, I do see a major contrasting difference between 2016 and 2021. Back in 2016, nobody knew exactly what was going to happen. Nobody knew what was going on. It was the first time in history when killer clowns were seen all over the world. But now, in 2021, we kind of have accustomed to what's happening. Now in 2021, we're actually much more prepared as opposed to how it was in 2016. So that's the major difference that I see. So with that being said, it leads me to this question. Don't you think as well that if you guys were to purge on the 31st, don't you guys think that everybody else knows your move? everyone else is going to know exactly what you're going to do, which can make you guys weaker in that sense.
Just because everyone knows what our movement is, it doesn't mean we're gonna give up. It doesn't mean we're scared. In fact, I'm glad they're gonna die. And it is gonna happen on Halloween. Either I find people outside trick-or-treating, or I raid down their houses. It's up to them how they want to have it.
My final question, being October 31st. Once the nighttime takes over, once it turns nighttime, what would your first move be?
I'm gonna twist the first person I see into a pretzel. I'm gonna grind his eyes out. I'm gonna grind his bones. I'm gonna rip his heart from their body. I'm gonna squeeze the blood out of their heart. And I will eat their flesh raw. And from then on, throughout the entire night, millions and millions of people are gonna die. Do you really not think I'm capable of this? What's the matter with you?
That's all I needed to ask, sir. Thank you for joining us.